Emily treasured her role as a nurse in the oncology ward, where each day presented new challenges and stories of resilience. Yet, one particular day would leave an indelible mark on her heart. It was a cool, clear autumn morning when Emily stepped into Mrs. Thompson's room. The soft hum of medical equipment filled the air, mingling with the gentle rustling of leaves outside. Mrs. Thompson, a woman in her 70s with an air of quiet dignity, lay in bed, her eyes closed as she slept peacefully. By her side sat Mr. Thompson, a man whose weathered hands tenderly held hers, his gaze fixed on his beloved wife with unwavering devotion. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," Emily greeted warmly, placing her clipboard on the bedside table. "How is Mrs. Thompson feeling today?" Mr. Thompson looked up with a faint smile, his eyes reflecting a mix of weariness and determination. "She had a rough night, but she's hanging in there," he replied softly. Throughout the morning, Emily observed Mr. Thompson's meticulous care for his wife. He anticipated her needs before she could voice them, adjusted her pillows with gentle precision, and spoke to her in a soothing tone that conveyed both reassurance and love. It was evident that their bond transcended the sterile hospital environment, creating a sanctuary of warmth and affection within the clinical walls. As the day unfolded, Emily found herself drawn to the Thompsons' story. During moments of respite between medical checks and treatments, she struck up conversations with Mr. Thompson. He spoke with quiet strength about their journey together, the joys of raising their children, the triumphs and trials of their careers, and the deep love that had anchored their lives through decades of shared experiences. Late in the afternoon, as Emily returned to Mrs. Thompson's room to administer her evening medications, her gaze fell upon a framed photograph resting on the bedside table. It captured a snapshot of a young couple on their wedding day, their smiles brimming with hope and promise for the future. Emily couldn't help but be captivated by the contrast between the youthful exuberance frozen in the photograph and the frailty etched upon Mrs. Thompson's face now. As she studied Mrs. Thompson's features, Emily noticed a striking resemblance between the bride in the photograph and the woman lying in the hospital bed. Time had etched lines of hardship and illness upon Mrs. Thompson's face, yet her essence still radiated a quiet strength and grace. Mr. Thompson noticed Emily's lingering gaze on the photograph and spoke softly, as if sharing a treasured secret. "That's Mary, my wife," he murmured, his voice tinged with both nostalgia and sorrow. Emily hesitated, sensing there was more to the story beneath the surface. "She looks different now," Emily ventured gently. "Older, of course, but there's something else." A shadow crossed Mr. Thompson's face, a fleeting glimpse of the pain he carried within. "Mary has Alzheimer's disease," he confided quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "She doesn't remember much these days. Sometimes she doesn't even recognize me." Emily's heart ached for Mr. Thompson. She had witnessed the devastating effects of Alzheimer's disease before, but experiencing it alongside such unwavering love was profoundly moving. She admired Mr. Thompson's dedication to his wife, despite the heart-wrenching challenges they faced together. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Thompson," Emily murmured softly, her voice filled with compassion. "It must be incredibly difficult." Mr. Thompson managed a faint smile, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It is," he admitted quietly, "but she's still Mary. She's still the woman I fell in love with all those years ago." In the days that followed, Emily made it a point to spend extra time with Mr. and Mrs. Thompson. She witnessed firsthand the tenderness with which Mr. Thompson cared for his wife, the way he brushed her hair with delicate strokes, sang her favorite songs in a soft, melodic voice, and held her hand through every treatment and setback. Their love transcended the confines of illness and memory loss, becoming a poignant testament to the enduring power of love and commitment. As Emily reflected on their journey, she couldn't help but feel deeply inspired. She saw how love could endure through even the darkest of times, offering solace and strength when all else seemed lost. She learned valuable lessons about compassion, resilience, and the importance of cherishing every moment with loved ones. One evening, as Emily prepared to leave the hospital, Mr. Thompson approached her with a small note slipped into her hand. "Thank you for caring," it read simply, accompanied by a heartfelt smiley face. Tears welled in Emily's eyes as she realized the profound impact Mr. and Mrs. Thompson had on her life. Their story had touched her in ways she couldn't fully express. It was a reminder of why she had chosen to become a nurse in the first place, to offer comfort, support, and unwavering compassion to those in need, and to celebrate the enduring strength of the human spirit, no matter the circumstances. And as Emily walked out of the hospital that evening, she carried with her a renewed sense of purpose and a profound gratitude for the privilege of witnessing such a remarkable love story unfold before her eyes. In the days that followed, Emily's heart was filled with the touching story of Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, and she found herself increasingly drawn to their room. Each interaction with them brought new insights into love's resilience and the depth of human connection. Emily continued her routine visits to Mrs. Thompson's room, checking vitals, adjusting medications, and offering gentle words of encouragement. She noticed how Mr. Thompson never missed a moment to be by his wife's side, his presence a source of comfort and stability in the face of Mary's deteriorating condition. One afternoon, as Emily entered the room, she found Mr. Thompson sitting by the window, gazing out at the sun-kissed garden below. His expression was contemplative, a stark contrast to his usual steadfast demeanor. "Mr. Thompson, how are you today?" Emily inquired softly, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. He turned to her, his eyes reflecting a mixture of weariness and gratitude. "It's been a tough day," he admitted quietly. "Mary had a restless night. She's been asking for our daughter, Sarah, again." Emily nodded understandingly, knowing that Mary's moments of clarity were becoming increasingly rare. "Would you like me to sit with her while you take a break?" she offered kindly. Mr. Thompson hesitated for a moment, then nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Emily. That would be wonderful." Emily settled herself beside Mary's bed, her heart heavy with empathy for the Thompson family. She held Mary's hand gently, speaking soothing words to her as she drifted in and out of lucidity. Despite Mary's confusion, Emily sensed a flicker of recognition in her eyes when she spoke of Sarah, their daughter. As the day wore on, Emily observed the ebb and flow of emotions in the room, moments of clarity intertwined with periods of confusion and distress. Through it all, Mr. Thompson remained a pillar of strength, offering reassurance and comfort to his wife with unwavering patience and love. In the quiet moments between caregiving tasks, Emily found herself reflecting on her own life. She thought about the fleeting nature of time, the unpredictability of health, and the enduring power of love to sustain even in the face of adversity. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson's journey had become a poignant reminder of life's fragility and the importance of cherishing every precious moment. One evening, as Emily prepared to leave for the day, Mr. Thompson approached her with a small, worn journal in his hands. "Emily, would you mind reading this to Mary?" he asked softly. "It's our love story, written in the early years of our marriage." Emily accepted the journal with reverence, sensing the significance of Mr. Thompson's request. She sat by Mary's bedside, reading aloud passages that spoke of youthful dreams, shared adventures, and the deep bond that had blossomed between two souls entwined by love. Mary listened intently, her eyes fluttering open intermittently as fragments of memories flickered in her mind. Emily noticed a serene smile grace her lips at certain moments, as if she were reliving cherished moments from their past together. As Emily closed the journal, she glanced at Mr. Thompson, whose eyes were brimming with tears of bittersweet nostalgia. "Thank you, Emily," he whispered hoarsely. "You've given Mary a gift today, a glimpse of the life we've built together." Emily nodded, deeply moved by the profound connection she had witnessed between Mr. and Mrs. Thompson. Their love story had touched her in ways she couldn't fully articulate. It was a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit and the transformative power of love. In the weeks that followed, Emily continued to support Mr. Thompson and Mary through the ups and downs of her treatment. She celebrated small victories and offered solace during setbacks, all the while learning valuable lessons about compassion, resilience, and the art of being present in the moment. One morning, Emily arrived at the hospital to find Mrs. Thompson's room empty. A pang of concern gripped her heart, fearing the worst. As she hurried down the corridor, she spotted Mr. Thompson sitting in the hospital chapel, his head bowed in silent prayer. "Mr. Thompson, is everything all right?" Emily asked softly, approaching him with gentle concern. He looked up, his eyes glistening with tears that spoke of both sorrow and peace. "Mary passed peacefully in her sleep last night," he said quietly. "She's finally at peace." Emily felt her own tears well up as she reached out to grasp Mr. Thompson's hand in solidarity. They sat together in the chapel, sharing a moment of quiet reflection and remembrance for the woman who had touched their lives so deeply. As Emily left the hospital that day, her heart heavy with sorrow yet uplifted by the profound love she had witnessed, she knew that Mr. and Mrs. Thompson's story would forever remain etched in her memory. It was a story of love's endurance, of strength in vulnerability, and of the beauty found in life's most tender moments. And as she walked away, Emily carried with her a renewed sense of purpose, to continue honoring the legacy of love and compassion that Mr. and Mrs. Thompson had exemplified, and to cherish each precious moment with those entrusted to her care. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe for more daily content. Also, I put a link down below about something very interesting. Please go check that out. See you on the next video. Bye-bye.